Wife cheats on me with the neighbor, so she loses the thing she loves the most. I, male 34, married my wife Nina, 29 female, 5 years ago. It just feels like yesterday when she had moved into our block and she showed up at my door with a plate of cookies. She had baked those cookies as a treat to get to know her neighbors. She was a very jovial and lively person, otherwise who serves handmade cookies to their neighbors. She talked to everyone and she was extremely sweet and nice. When she came with cookies, I invited her in for a cup of coffee. We soon became friends and bonded over coffee and cookies. We dated for 2 years before exchanging our vows. One thing that Nina loved as much as she loved me was her garden. She was crazy about plants. She had studied botany and now she owned a small nursery. Her own garden was like a baby to her. She loved all the flowers that she had planted there. It may sound insane, but every morning, she actually talked to the plants as she watered them. Before we got married, Nina made it clear to me that I would have to move in with her because she could not leave her garden. She was just not ready to do that and she did not ask me, she just announced her decision to me. I did not mind it because I totally understood her passion and love for her garden. Therefore, I did not resist at all and moved in with her. Our married life was going smooth until recently. The traits which attracted us are now becoming a problem for us. You see, Nina and I are quite different in our nature. Nina, as I mentioned, is an extremely outgoing and social person. She knows a lot of people and she easily makes friends. I, on the other hand, am the exact opposite of who she is. I'm an introvert and a relatively shy person. I do not feel comfortable talking to everyone. There are very few people that I connect with and become friends with. I like to spend a lot of my free time at home instead of going out. My ideal holiday includes staying at home with Nina, watching TV, and cooking something nice for the two of us. Nina prefers going out and eating at some cafe or meeting some friends. Since we both are very different, we decided some things at the beginning of our marriage to avoid major arguments. We made sure to do both the things that the two of us liked. We went out on Saturdays, as it was something Nina loved doing. On Sundays, we stayed at home and spent time with each other as it was something that I loved. This setting of ours worked very well for us. However, things have been a little weird over the past few weeks. Nina has been going out a lot. She always has to meet some friends or has some party to attend. To me, it has started to seem like she is never home for me. It is not as if she leaves me behind or neglects me. She always asks me if I want to go out with her to meet her friends at some party, but I refuse as usual. After coming home from work, I'm often too drained socially to even think about going out and meeting people. I did tag along with her once or twice when she insisted a lot, but that was it. Going to those parties sucked. I found it hard to have conversations with anyone and I was too tired by the end of the night. So the next time that Nina offered me to join her with her friends, I refused to do that. I stayed at home. Honestly, I miss her presence at home. She is going out more than she normally does, and I miss her when she is gone. When she comes home, she is usually too tired and she just goes to sleep. I have started to miss our deep conversations and all. I don't want to sound like the kind of husband who stops his wife from going out and doing what she loves. I don't want her to stay at home because of me. It just seems to me like Nina is not interested in spending a lot of time with me and it bothers me. I wonder if she has gotten tired of me or if it was just one of her busy days. I know there is no evident instance that indicates a problem in our relationship, but after reading so many cheating stories here, I'm kinda alert and don't want any red flag to slide off my radar. I hope it's just a phase and will pass. Update 1. After reading the response on the last post, I realized that it was better to have a heartful confrontation than to sulk in the corner silently. I decided to upfrontly communicate my feelings and insecurity to Nina. I wasn't that insecure, but if you're an introvert in a relationship with an extrovert you would get me. We are mildly troubled with the fact that our partner gets bored with us because we are not that outgoing like them. There is another challenge with introverts that we overthink a lot. Before the confrontation, I laid out thousands of plans in my head on how to convey my feelings without making her sad. I had tortured myself a lot and I knew it was all wrong. It was best to directly talk to her and let her know the concerns in my mind and then let's figure out what happens next. One day, when Nina got home from the nursery, I told her that I wanted to talk to her about something. She was taken aback by this sudden I want to talk thing. I said everything that was there in my head. After listening to me, she said sorry that it was a reality check for her and that she would try her best to not make me feel that way again. She said that she had been going out a lot because so many of her friends were in town after so long, but now we could go back to our previous schedule the way it used to be. I was glad that Nina had acted maturely instead of gaslighting the situation or acting defensively. She really respected how I was feeling, and I appreciated that. She was also glad that I had talked about it in a reasonable manner instead of fighting irrationally or keeping it inside. It felt so good to have a conversation like two adults who were in love and understood each other really well. After that day, Nina and I began to follow our previous schedule where we made time for each other, and I thought things would get better for us now. And it got better for some time. However, that did not last long. 2 weeks later, Nina began to act the same way again. She came home later than usual from the nursery. She was again having too many hangouts with her friends, and I was alone at home, as usual. The most weird and shocking part was that I observed that Nina had stopped paying a lot of attention to her home garden too. I had always been sure about the fact that Nina loved her garden more than she loved me. She treated it like her baby, and seeing her neglect, it was weird for me. It just made me realize that something was not quite normal with Nina, and something else had taken precedence in her life over us, me and her garden. One day, out of the boredom, I went into the garden and watered the plants as Nina was not around. That was when I realized that one of the plants was dead. It alarmed me too, because I knew very well what these plants meant to her, and so she would never be that careless to them. When she got home that evening, I showed her the dead plant. Nina had no idea. She left her dinner in the middle and went to the garden to see her remaining plant. I followed her. Nina was really sad when she saw it. I thought she was about to start crying, but she didn't. She was really upset about it though. She was saying that it was her fault. She had been so busy with work and friends that she had neglected taking care of the garden. Nina kept blaming herself and assured herself that now she would prioritize her responsibilities. I just looked at her hoping she would now get back to her normal self. From that day, Nina got very conscious about her plants. She began to take good care of them the way she always used to. The fun part is, she did not cut down on her outings. She began to wake up early and made sure she checked on them before she went out in the evenings. She did not care about spending time with me. She was only concerned with going out and taking care of her plants that she called her babies. I know it sounds irrational and insane, but I have started to actually get kind of jealous of her garden and her friends. I have already discussed this with her, and she had said that she would divide her time equally, but now it has gone back to the same old routine of hers. She does not seem to care, and this time, I'm not in the mood to have another confrontation. It feels like making a fool out of myself. I really want to solve this issue, but I do not want to talk about this with her again. So, I too got distant from her. 2 nights ago, I did something stupid. As I got home from work, Nina was already there. She kissed me and said that she was just leaving to meet a friend. She had laid out dinner for me. I got mad at her, but I said nothing. As soon as she left, I left the house too. I did not even touch the dinner that she had put on the dining table. I called an old friend and hung out with him. I did not have a lot of friends, so I just sat and talked to him. We were meeting after a very long time, and so there was a lot to be shared. My friend left at about 9, but I did not go home. I went to a bar and sat there for hours. I do not drink a lot, but that day I got really drunk. I had no plan of going home. I thought I should book a room at a hotel and stay there for the night. So I did that. Nina called me and I declined the call. I did not want to talk to her or even look at her face. She texted me almost immediately asking me where I was. I chose not to answer. I sat on the bed in the hotel room and I stared at the ceiling as I wondered if I was doing something stupid. But I was not in the mood to talk to her. She had to suffer a little the way I did every single day. I fell asleep instantly. The next morning, I woke up late because of all the drinks I had the previous night. I woke up with a headache, of course. It was not good. I turned my phone on and got 100 texts from Nina. She had been worried about me, apparently. I went home. Nina was leaving for work. As she saw me, she bombarded me with 1,000 questions asking me where I had been the whole night. She said she had been worried sick about me. She sounded really mad and it made me happy. I did not lie and told her that I did not want to come home to her as she was never here. I had to stay alone most of the time, so I decided to do it outside the house. That was enough for Nina to start shouting and blaming me for acting like a child who needed attention all the time. It pissed me off even more. Instead of apologizing for her mistakes, she acted defensively. What the hell? I argued back and held nothing inside. Both of us said really hurtful things to one another. She then left for her nursery as neither of us was going to shut up. I had to write this update to empty my heart. It's getting unbearable for me now. I just want to chase her down and see what she is up to or hire a PI on her. I'm just so done. Update 2. Guys, I tell you the flag was indeed red, and I'm glad I was noticing it all this while instead of turning a blind eye towards it. So, after that huge fight, Nina and I stopped speaking to each other at all. Neither of us was ready to apologize and set things right. We were both extremely mad. We lived in the same house, but did not say a word to one another. We continued to follow our same routines. I made breakfast. She made dinner. But we were not ready to end the fight. This time, I too had decided that I would not be the one who took the first step forward to resolve the fight between us. It wasn't ego, but I just didn't feel right. A week later, I got home from work. I walked into a surprise. I opened the door and all the lights were turned off. It was weird because usually, Nina came home before I did. I entered and turned on the light and I was astonished. Nina had prepared a whole surprise for me. There was a cake on the table in the living room. There were also some balloons and a poster that said, "I'm sorry." Nina stepped forward and said she was sorry as she hugged me. I won't lie, but it felt good to see her effort. She said it was obviously her fault that she was not listening and paying attention to me. We made up. Nina cooked my favorite food. We ate that and talked a lot after a very long time. I felt so relieved and everything seemed so nice. There was so much that had to be shared since the fight between us. I had feared that Nina just hated our relationship and she did not care at all. She seemed so unbothered and I was scared that we would never make up and it would be the end of our marriage of 5 years. However, she did all of it, which assured me that she was interested in putting efforts in our marriage to make it work. She loved me and that really made me happy. But that bubble burst in a short while as I got introduced to Nina's reality. A few days after our reunion, I got my heart broken in the worst way. I was at my office when I realized that I had forgotten some very important documents that I needed at home. I had been working late the previous night and I had left them on the study table. My office is not that far from my home, so I thought I would just go home and pick them up. I drove home, but I was surprised to see Nina's car in the driveway. She left for the nursery in the morning. Why would she be back home? I was about to enter the house when I heard the voice of a man. It sent a shiver to me. I knew it did not sound right. Who could be with Nina in my house at this time of the day? For a moment, I wanted to run away. I wasn't ready to face the truth. I was not able to think straight and just went inside. She was making out with my neighbor, yes. It was just so disgusting that she was sleeping with a loser next door. That man, a fair partner, had recently moved into our neighborhood and since then she had been acting weird. I don't know what kind of disorder she has to make friends with anyone and everyone. I'm sure Nina would have made the first move of befriending him and things took a different turn. It was like a déjà vu moment for me, imagining how things would have cooked up between them in a similar way to how it happened between us. I just stood there numb for a moment before chasing out a fair partner from my house. I wanted to break his limbs, but more than him, I was disgusted at my wife. I wanted her to throw her out of the house, but it was her house. She pleaded with me that it was just a one-time thing and they were cute just before the moment in the act. She asked for a chance, but I knew it was not. I didn't need to prove my instincts to her, but still, I wanted to humiliate her. I went straight to the door camera. It had struck me that whoever had come to my house would have been recorded by the camera and I could go through the recording to find out who he was. We had never checked the camera recording in our whole life. Our neighborhood was really safe and so luckily we never had to go through something like that. However, now was the time to make use of the camera that I had installed years ago. I opened it wide in front of her and started playing recordings of the last days simultaneously. I fast-forwarded to the afternoon because that was the time she was with him. In the recording, it was clear that it wasn't a one-time thing. That filthy man and that evil woman. I wanted to kill both of them right then. I just packed my bags and left the house. She pleaded with me to stay and talk to her, but I just pushed her away and left. I've checked into a hotel for a while until I decide my next move. I'm in talks with a divorce lawyer and also finding a place for myself to move. I've blocked Nina from all channels. Even after a week, I see her messages in the spam folder, but I don't read it because it boils my blood. I'll update once all these are over. Update 3. I was in a pathetic mental state while making the last update. While writing this, I realize I have come a long way in the path of healing. At that moment, all I was thinking was just revenge. I desperately wanted to come up with a plan that would hurt Nina the same way that she hurt me. I wanted her to go through hell. I began to plot my revenge. I knew I needed my revenge. I could not let Nina get away with it. She had made a fool of me with the neighbor. I kept thinking of several ways to hurt Nina, but life got better of me and I eventually moved on after the divorce was settled. I wanted to make an update after my divorce was settled, but I didn't want to revisit my past through this thread, so I ignored it. Sorry for that. I responded to everyone who checked up on me through PM and comments. A week ago, Nina emailed me from a new email ID. I have blocked all her previous coordinates. She said she was in a miserable state in all ways. She told me that a fair partner had betrayed her in the worst way possible. Soon after the divorce, a fair partner moved in with her. Like I said, he was a lazy bum, he didn't have a proper job and was surviving on Nina's income. Nina asked him to join her nursery to share her workload, and there he started doing his stuff. He started shipping out the plants from the nursery and sold them off outside at a cheaper rate just to make some extra bucks. But Nina was quick to notice the absence of those plants. When she asked him, he said that it was probably stolen in the night. While all these were still going on, he somehow got his hands on the ownership papers of the nursery and sold it to make easy money. He then ran off with the money and ghosted her. Nina sounded devastated. She had lost the thing that was closest to her heart. Now she was in a mess. She had no emotional or financial support, and she was all alone. I just responded to her with one text. I told her that she had made me feel the exact same way. She was now crying about her efforts going to waste. I had felt the same way. I had spent so many years trying to nurture a relationship that she had thrown away just like that. She had preferred to sleep with a neighbor who was not even serious about it. I knew it was her karma because she was getting back the pain that she had put me through. That day, my belief in karma got stronger. Nina was reaping what she had sown, and she was not liking that. Even after I had made it perfectly clear that I wanted no contact of any sort with her, Nina tried a lot to talk to me and to apologize. But of course, I ignored all of it. I heard from a friend again that she was going through a lot of financial trouble because her nursery was no longer there. The neighbor she had cheated on me with had completely ghosted her and had chosen to stay with his wife. So, Nina was alone in all aspects of life. Moving on from that divorce was not easy, and it shattered me. But I had to do it. I had no other option. I indulged myself completely in my job to not let her thoughts mess up my head, and it did turn out to be good for me. I worked so hard to stay busy, and I got the promotion that I had always desired. It would not have been possible without prioritizing myself over others and thinking the most about my mental health. I cut off all ties with my past and focused the most on my present. That led to me gaining control of my life and being stable.